I've been blessed with another beautiful day outside today, so I decided to come out in the backyard and complete my goal that I set for myself yesterday, which was to prune my grapevines. As you can see, my grapevines, they run the whole way down through the garden and all the way up through here, and every year I come out here and I prune them up. And I usually make a video about it. I have some how-to videos that I've made in the past, so this one won't necessarily be a how-to video, but I'll put a link in the description if you're looking to learn how to prune grapevines. This is going to be more of like a before and after, and I'll show it to you right now. So you can see these things, they really grow out of control, and there's also these weeds that kind of grow up, and fortunately it gets like this, they almost use the grapevines to their advantage by growing up over. Like, these aren't grapes, this is just like some type of weed that was growing up there. So I'm going to get rid of all that, and I'm going to really mulch this up really good to kind of make sure that nothing grows up in there again this year. And then it's just a matter of pruning the grapevines back and finding out which ones are alive, which ones are dead, and so forth. And just getting it looking really good so I can have some nice grapes this year. So that is what I'm going to start on now, and I'll kind of keep you updated as I progress through this. And of course, I couldn't prune my grapevines without having Roxy out here. She's a part of the yearly ritual too, along with pretty much everything else that I do out here. And she likes to just hang out in the shade, chew on sticks, also play with toys and distract me like crazy, and she's usually pretty good at doing that. Step one, before I do anything, I'm going to get rid of those weeds, and the tool that I'm going to be using for that is this beast right here. This is very handy to have in the garden. It's sort of like a hoe, but it has 3 prongs on it. I'm going to go through the bottom of this with this. Yeah, that's... What are you doing, Rox? There's no buns in there. So I'm going to go through that, kind of chop all this stuff down, and really just clear it out quite a bit. Unless the dog can do it for me, which I doubt. She's just going to get a mess. Are you serious? Rox, look at you. I'll take a second to show you the before, just to show you just how bad these things are and how much stuff's growing up on them. Just how out of control it is. You can hear me walking through it. And then all this stuff that's up over here. There's some old grapes there that are growing that I never picked. These things just grow like crazy. As you can see down here, it kind of gets out of the weeds so much on the ground, but there's just so much growing up on top that needs to be taken back. I mean, look at this. Look how far that grew just in the last year, and that's off of a good spot right there. And then you get back here, and then we got more weeds growing up on top. So I'm gonna have to try to get rid of these vines and stuff. Vines on vines. And really just make this look good so you can see just how much of a distance it is. So I'll be busy here today. This is going to be a fun operation. I always have fun doing this. I made some really good progress out here. I got rid of all of the weeds, which you can see it looks a lot cleaner. Kind of mulched this all in down here to keep the new weeds from coming up best I can. And now what you're left with is the grapevines. There's really no weeds or anything growing on them, just the true grapevines. And as you can see, these things grow out of control. There used to be a plant right here, but it died out. So now I just have the vines kind of going across. There's this wire here, and everything kind of grows over that. So you can really fill up a blank space, and that's sort of what I do. In the summertime, you won't even be able to see through there. Then you can see, just walking down here, I'll kind of show you what it looks like now without everything on it, and kind of give you the before when I start pruning. You can see just how crazy these things grow. There's so many different things growing across, and what you kind of want is, if you have your grapevine kind of grows up like this, you want one going across here, one going across here, and then here, sort of just forming that and that. But unfortunately, every year these things grow out of control, and you just really got to tame it back because they won't get enough sunlight the next year if you leave all this stuff on here, because there's gonna be too many leaves. It just grows too crazy. So this is what it looks like, and I'm going to show you here in just a minute what it looks like when I'm done, and it's going to be quite an improvement. When you're pruning the grapevines, the hardest thing to choose from is what to keep and what to get rid of. The first thing you'll want to see is all the dead stuff. If you just put a basic cut through these, if you look inside and there's no green inside there, that means they're dead. So these ones really aren't growing anything, so you can obviously get rid of that. But then some of these brighter colored ones, the ones that are kind of reddish, they're the ones that are alive, and you want to pick one good one to go across each top. So you kind of just have to look at them, and you don't want anything that's kind of crossing over. Like if you have, say this right here is growing out like that, this one that's growing backwards towards the center, you really don't want that. So that one's obviously going to get cut. So we'll just cut that off right there. And then I'll give you an example of what it looks like when one's alive. If you look down through there, see how green that is? That means it's alive. So I'm just going to kind of cut this back. This is the before on the first one, and I'll show you what it looks like after. Hopefully you can tell. I just got done with the first grapevine, and I'll show you what the after looks like. This is a properly pruned grapevine, at least in my opinion. Now, I told you I like to keep one thing going this way and this way. What I typically like to do, though, is leave a couple just as an insurance policy, because you don't want to just leave one vine like this, and then if that dies off, you're pretty much screwed for growing anything that way. So I got this one going, and I got this one back here, which is alive. And then down here, this one kind of drapes down here, which I'm going to kind of fill in the bottom down here. Then of course you have this one, which is growing right off this main trunk. So that's sort of like my 1 and my 2, and then this one's kind of a backup plant. And then you go over here, I did the same thing. I got one growing up here, which is growing in a good direction. And then I got this one kind of coming off as well, which looks pretty good. And I cut that one back decent a bit because I don't like to really go past this post. Down here, I've got a good one coming out. And then this one has two that are branching off that are both very healthy. So I left them both on there as an insurance policy against one of them dying. And then I also have this one that goes all the way down here as well. So I got myself probably, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this side. And then I got 1, 2, 3, 4 on this side. So that gives me some good hope for the future. And it looks pretty good. And just to show you that you can't cut too much off, this is everything that kind of came off of the vine there. And it's a lot of stuff. I don't think the camera really does justice just how much I took off there. And if you're wondering what tool I'm using, this is my tool of choice. This is a Fisker's pruner. These things work wonderfully and I highly recommend them. I have other videos on them as well. So this is the second spot that we're moving on to. This is where they're raising a plant or a grapevine. So I'm gonna just kind of feed this through and try to keep it long. I'm gonna do at the top. Everything that you see through here is growing off of this side. This one looks pretty good. I got it all taken care of. I was a little concerned about this one in particular because there wasn't a whole lot growing off of it. Like this is mostly just dead stuff, but I do have some life here. This one's really nice. And then I kept this and I kept this to keep it going, and this one's still alive as well. So I got a lot that's kind of coming across, and that's important because this is the empty spot. And then down below, we've got this one that grows all the way out to here, and this is really alive and well, and that kind of just let that go all the way over. So that's gonna hopefully fill up that bottom spot there. And then on the other side, this is where I was kind of concerned about. There's really nothing growing on here except for this, so I'm kind of hoping that one makes it. And then over here, I just let that grow out because this is pretty much dead. Although there is some life there, but it was growing in the wrong direction, so I cut it off. And then down here, this one's pretty much dead, but I do have a brand new sprout that's coming out there, and it's going all the way out here. I just kept this on here to kind of guide this one and grow it in the direction that I need to grow in. So again, you have your 1, 2, I'm going to consider this 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then you got 7, and then I'm probably going to be able to tame this one back in too to kind of bring it like that. So you got 8. So I have basically 4 times 2, so that's 8, and that should do pretty well in the next year. Now the next one that we're looking at over here, I'm going to be tearing this one down quite a bit. This one grew really well, so there's a lot to do. If you want to see my pile for the last one, this is how much that I cut off. I mean, it's just a lot of growth there in the last year. You want to see the Chocolate Lab stick disposer, right here she is, chewing on the grapevines. Although grapes are poisonous for dogs, so I don't know if I should let her do that. There, why don't we not? Why don't we not? Hey, drop, 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 drop. Who's a good girl? Here you are. No, you're not a good girl anymore. I went in, had some lunch, got a drink, and I came back out and been cranking away at this. I got number 3 done and number 4 done. And now it looks like we have 5, 6, and 7 left to go. And hopefully I can have this all done here pretty quickly. But as you can see, nice and simple. Keep it real clean. This one's the same way, just keeping it real clean, just having one on each side. This one I left a little more extra just to have some insurance that the other ones are going to grow, like I mentioned before, and it should turn out pretty well. I found kind of a cool situation here on this grapevine. This one's kind of dying out. There's really not a whole lot to it. It does grow up over here a little bit, but man, it's just not to the caliber of the rest of them. The good news is, if you look down here, there's all kinds of new sprouts that are coming out of this, and they're actually doing really well. So I think this might end up being the new grapevine that grows from here. And there's all kinds of stuff just kind of starting down here, and I'm really loving that. This comes out of here as well. You can see just how well this is growing right across the ground. So I'm going to try to put this up. I'm going to try to bring this all up here because this is another situation where there's no grapevine growing in this section. That one, there was that one down there too. So I'm going to make sure this thing lives the best that it can and kind of free it up as much as I can too, because I'd really like to see if this is going to die, if I can salvage it by these little vines here. Finally made it down to the end, and this one looks like it's going to be the hardest one yet. There's just so much growing on this. This is another situation where there's no grapevine here, so I kind of last year let this one grow over, and I probably left too much on it because now there's just so much growing through here that I have to get rid of. In fact, it's all the way growing back on the fence. It's all the way back there, kind of wrapping around. But this one looks really good. Got that one done. I actually cut quite a bit off that, and I really like the way that one's going out. Kind of fill in this space. I think I'm going to buy like 3 more grapevines to fill in the empty spots, but overall you just keep it as simple as you can, keep as minimal stuff as you can, and this will turn out really well. Injury alert, made a fatal error cutting, cut right through my hand, and it's starting to bleed up pretty good. I'm going to have to go inside and put something on this real quick. I went inside and got my hand all fixed up, just put a compress on there until it stopped bleeding. And I came out and finished the job up, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I'm gonna call it a wrap. This is the very end. I'll kind of take you right back through. You can see exactly how everything looks. Very clean, just like I mentioned. Really nothing I would change about this. I really love the way these are looking. It's hard to really tell exactly what I did until you get up here. I'll just kind of show you the rest of these real quick. Man, I really love the way that looks. Look how clean that is. When I came out here, definitely didn't look like that. If you want to see just how much I cut off of this, there's the evidence. Whole big pile. This is about knee high. There's my wheelbarrow back there, so you can see just how much of this there is, and I'll end up burning this in the garden. So that's it for the 2015 grape pruning day. I'm really happy to have this done. I'd be lying to you if I told you that this wasn't something that I really enjoyed. Every year I love coming out here and just making this huge transformation from this up into what it always becomes, and every year I like to document it, and every year these things kind of get more and more the way I want them. It just takes a lot of time to kind of fine-tune things, and that's what I like to do. And I'm happy to share it with you. If you're still watching this video, I'm really proud of you, because this is kind of a boring subject, at least in my mind, but I like to document it. And if you're still watching it, I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video.